See if it's working. It's working. Hare Krishna. Nice to see everybody here tonight. Our night in Sridham Mayapur. We'll go ahead and start. Gora Draganya Gana Gocha Goloruharam Goranga Gudachama Gopyata Kopa Briksham Gopala Gadaratigam Yati Singha Gora Govinda Deshi Kavaram Satatanamani Uttama Adama Kichuna Bachila Jachi Adile Kakola Kahe Premananda Hemona Goranga Hridaya Dadiya Bola Bhaja Goranga Kaha Goranga Laha Gorangera Namare Jai Jana Goranga Bhaje Se Hoyamada Pranare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Yashaiva Padambuja Bhakti Labhya Prema Bidana Padama Pumarta Tasmai Jagadmangala Mangalaya Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Madgavirapi Gopala Srikuryat Kripaya Jadi Tadaiva Sambhaya Pidva Vishayustat Priya Janaha Shri Krishna Krishna Chaitanya Sasanatana Rupaka Gopala Raghunatha Brajabala Pahimam Pancha Kopadarubhishcha Kripa Sindhu Vyevachan Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Brinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So I want to welcome everybody tonight. Tonight we have a special guest for this. Wow, Brinda Sundari is here also. We were just talking about you today, Brinda Sundari. Nothing bad, don't worry. We had lunch today with Sarvadrik Prabhu. Do you know Sarvadrik? Yeah, he was, when I was in Boulder and coming to Denver, he was the vice president, I think the head pujari or something in Denver, old Denver devotee. We had nice seeing him. So today we have Urugai with us. Urugai's from Australia, and he's our dear friend here in Mayapur. He's been attending classes with us for, gosh, over a year now. He was hosting our classes here in Mayapur last year. So we're going over our Guru Maharaj's Mangala-Charna prayers. And this is the 14th verse, which appears in his Mangala-Charna. The famous verse from Vidagdha Madhav. It's Rupa Goswami's part of his Mangala-Charna there, Vidagdha Madhav. And this is our 12th session. I think we'll probably have at least one or two more sessions on this one verse, Anarpita-carim cirat. So we can recite together, and then maybe Brinda Sundari, if you want to read the English after we read the Sanskrit, we can do that. So let's see here. Anarpita-carim cirat Karuna avatina kalo samarpayitam anuchala rasam swabhakti shriyam Hari purata sundara dyuti kadamba sandipitaha sada hridaya kandare spuratuva sachinandanaha. Go ahead and read.
Supreme Lord, who is known as the son of Srimati Sachi Devi, be transcendentally situated in the innermost chambers of your heart. Resplendent with the radiance of molten gold, he has appeared in the age of Kali by his causeless mercy to bestow what no incarnation has ever offered before, the most sublime and radiant mallow of devotional service, the mallow of conjugal love.
So today I want to see if we can finish this commentary, which is ascribed to Srila Jiva Goswami, although, as I mentioned before, that we have good reason to believe it actually wasn't written by Jiva Goswami, but it's ascribed to him. And we want to speak something mostly about this Sparatu va Sachinandanaha. Let him be manifest as Sachinandana, as the son of Mother Sachi in your heart. So just to look back a tiny bit, we've been going over this Anarpita-carim cirat verse and why this is such an important verse, and why in our first session we were describing how many acharyas they've said that this verse is significant because it's the first time that two elements, bhakti and rasa, were combined together in one verse. And it very wonderfully illustrates the purpose of the advent of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and we've been speaking about it from many different perspectives. So our last couple of sessions, I think our last two or three, the question was raised that if Mahaprabhu is a main distributor of this treasure house, the Srimad Bhagavatam, if it's a treasure house, then who's in charge of it? Because when you have treasure, there's an innate understanding someone has to be in charge of it. Much as we don't like management, somebody has to be in charge, and it has to be a doorkeeper. Mm-hmm. Even for this treasure house of love of God, which is a Srimad Bhagavatam, who is a doorkeeper? And so the person in charge of the treasure house is Nityananda Prabhu, and he's distributing the jewels of this love of God with both hands, because he's completely intoxicated with prema. He doesn't distinguish who's qualified and who's not. And the doorkeeper is Sanatana Goswami. Doorkeeper means that person who opens the gates. He takes away a lot of the gates. Like we went to Nathdwar before in Rajasthan, and the temple of Srinathji is very, very old. And as you come on the outskirts of it, they have these huge gates, and in the gates you'll see there's big sharp nails coming out, and the sharp nails are about, I don't know, maybe 8 feet high or something. They're above your head. And you may wonder, what in the world are they there for? Their purpose is for the elephants. Because if some elephant comes to attack it, with some other king wants to attack, they'll ram the elephant into the gate and break open the gate. But these huge, like spikes, like you say nails, but they're more like spikes coming out, it discourages the elephants. So Sanatana Goswami, we heard, he's the doorkeeper. He opens all the gates up, even though they have these sharp nails and things on them. And how does he do that? By writing his Brihad Vaishnav Toshini commentary. And by doing that, he invites everybody. Everybody you come, you can experience, you can take bath and drown in this ocean of prema. You can get the happiness of it. And so these two individuals are very, very important. And innately in this verse, the commentary indicates these two personalities are indicated. So then some doubt arises at this point that if you say that Gauranga Mahaprabhu is Krishna, then he should have the complexion of Krishna. And the person who has that doubt may be a sophisticated Vaishnav who's familiar with Vedic literature, with Vaishnav literature, because the complexion of Krishna is a very important thing. The complexion of Krishna is different than the complexion of Matsya Kurma, Varaha, Nrsimha, Ramachandra, and other different avatars of the Lord. So to answer that question, Rupa Goswami said, Parata Sundara Duti Kadamba Sandipitaha, that the verse defines the complexion of Mahaprabhu. And I'm not going to go so much into this because we spoke at length in some of our previous sessions about Mahaprabhu's golden complexion and the purport to that. I'm just going to touch on it a little bit, and we want to go ahead to a few other points and maybe even finish this commentary today, and then we'll go on to some other commentaries on the same verse. So Mahaprabhu is glowing like molten gold, and the word purata means some very very pure gold, like is found in the Jambunati River. But Sundara, it's even more beautiful than that gold. His duty, his complexion. Because there's so much effulgence, kadamba, coming from that sandipitaha, he's so effulgent. And with this wonderful glowing refulgence, Mahaprabhu's dark blue Nilamadav Krishnavarna complexion, Shamsundar complexion, has become concealed. It hasn't gone away. The commentator points out the meaning of these verses, it's not that it's gone away, but it's covered. It's covered, as Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says, what is it? Radha Bhava Duty Suvalitam Nomi Krishna Sarupam. That Radha Bhava Duty, the mood and the complexion of Radha, is covering Krishna. This is one of the important controversies in our Gaudiya Vaishnava line. If you don't have enough controversies in your life, if you're looking for something else really valuable to argue about that'll waste your time, you can also argue about this if you want to add it to your list. I don't like to get involved in all these arguments. I consider them a useless waste of time. I'd rather understand something, have it revealed to me. But anyway, there's some Vaishnavas, especially in the Advaita Paribar, I think maybe I've mentioned this in a previous session too, who don't consider that Radha and Krishna have actually merged together. And when Srila Bhaktisiddhanta says, Sri Krishna Chaitanya Radha Krishna Nahi Anya, that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Radha and Krishna together, they take exception if you say that they've merged together. They say no, that Mahaprabhu is in the mood of Radharani, and by adopting that mood, and what is the mood of Radha? Radharani's mood is Madanakya Mahabhava Moyi. She's the embodiment of this Madanakya Mahabhav. So that Madanakya Mahabhav, that sentiment, which is the topmost level of prema, has a complexion, and that complexion is golden. So Krishna, he's Krishna himself, but he's covered with the complexion of Radharani, just like he's covered with the mood of Radharani. So just by seeing him, or seeing that complexion, or even meditating on that, you can get Krishna prema. This is something that the commentator explains here, that what is the significance of Paratu Sundara Duti Kadamba Sandipitaha, speaking about the effulgence of the Lord, is so important, because just by seeing it or even meditating on that effulgence of the Lord, you get that prema. Why is that significant? How do we understand that again? Looking back on some of our previous sessions, which just to touch on, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami in the 6th verse of Chaitanya Charitamrita, he says, Sri Radhaya Pranaya Mahima Kiddisovanayaiva Swadyoyi Nebhuta Madhurima Kiddisovamadiya Sokyam Chashamana Bhava de Kiddisam Viti Lobat Tabhava Jasamajani Sachi Garba Sindhu Harindu. That Krishna came for 3 reasons. And the first of these 3 reasons was that he wanted to taste the Pranaya Mahima. He wanted to understand what is the Mahima, the glories of Radha's Pranaya. And the question arises from my Guru Maharaj and Embankment of Separation. You could look back in those classes, or some of our classes on Chaitanya Charitamrita Mangala-China verses. We also spoke something about this. That pranaya means when the lover and the beloved become one. And there's a color to that pranaya, which I mentioned. That pranaya means Madanakya Mahabhav. So he gives us Hari. Krishna is known as Hari. He gives us this thing, and he takes everything else away from us to give us this, and instead he gives us Krishna prema. And because of that, he's known as Hari. Hari means someone who steals. So he takes everything away. We just meditate on his effulgence and how brilliant he is, because meditating on the effulgence means that we're meditating on the mood and the luster, the complexion of Srimati Radharani. And by meditating on that, he steals everything away from us, and he gives us Krishna Prema. And because of that, the verse describes him as Hari, as Lord Hari. So then another question comes that the commentator says, someone hearing all this says, okay, I'd like to know something about his pastimes. Please tell me about his pastimes. And the answer comes, this verse speaks about that. Sada hridaya kandare spuratu va. Sada means always. Hridaya kandare. Kandare means in the heart. Hridaya means in the heart. But kandara means a cave also. And spuratu means to appear. So to answer this question, someone naturally, they hear about the Lord. He's so amazing, just meditating on me. So then someone says, I want to hear about his pastimes. So then the verse replies, Sada hridaya kandare spuratuva. That may he always appear in the caves in your heart. In other words, in that very hidden place. And he's saying this, the commentator explains, because you've not heard of him before. Therefore, your heart is like an empty cave in a very hard, dry, rocky mountain. Even though you may have accumulated a lot of knowledge, a lot of gyan. But in this cave, Sada hridaya kandare spuratuva, may my Lord always appear. This is Rupa Goswami's Ashirbad. Now, as we mentioned in some of our previous classes, there's different aspects to a Mangala-Charan, and one of them is an Ashirbad. That the author gives a blessing to the readers, to the listeners. So this is a wonderful blessing of this verse, that may, in the cave of your heart, may these pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu always appear. May you always witness them. May they manifest in a spontaneous way. And the author of the commentary says that if you witness these things directly in your heart, then what's the need of speaking about them? And this is an interesting point. As we were mentioning just a moment ago about controversy, and I don't want to be controversial and dwell on that so much, but rather than argue about certain things, my Guru Maharaj, he told us, for one example, about the Swarup of Guru. And some devotees, they like to argue about Prabhupada's Swarup. Some say that he's a cowherd boy. Some say that he was a gopi. But my Guru Maharaj said, we want to realize it. What's the point of arguing about it like small children who are in third grade mathematics and are trying to understand trigonometry or something? It's just way, way beyond them. They can't understand whatsoever. We want to realize it. So in the same way, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes will naturally manifest in the core of our hearts. So then at that point, someone may ask another question, and may say, then what is the necessity of reading Chaitanya Charitamrita or other literatures? And in one sense, you can say that there is no necessity. That if you just chant the holy names, if you get the mercy, the blessings of Rupa Goswami, then Sada hridaya kandare spuratuva, those pastimes of the Lord will naturally manifest in our heart. Technically, in Rasa literature, we call that a spurti. In the beginning, at least, you see something, even for a moment or something, of the Lord's pastimes. So that will naturally arise. So then what is the necessity of reading all these things? Those things are there to help us to direct the mind in this way and to convince the intellect, because in the beginning, it's necessary to convince our intellect that this is the right path to go on, because our mind always wants to go on the path of sense gratification. And this seems like a lot of austerity. I'd rather be watching the movies or something. And why do I want to read Chaitanya Charitamrita? We should convince ourselves of this. So that's some answer in regard, some explanation of this line, Sada hridaya kandare spuratuva. Next, the commentator addresses the last words of this verse, which are very, very beautiful. Mahaprabhu is addressed as Sri Sachinandana. Sada hridaya kandare spuratuva Sachinandanaha. May that son of the mother of Lord Sachi, and may he always appear in the cave of your hearts. So this is in reply to an innate question which naturally many Vaishnavas will have, which will naturally arise in the heart of many Vaishnavas when they hear all this discussion. When you start saying Sada Hridaya Kandare Sparatuva, that Mahaprabhu is going to appear in the cave of your hearts, then at that time someone's maybe going to raise their hand and say, excuse me, I'm a great offender. I've committed so many offenses. So how, I didn't develop attraction for Mahaprabhu's pastimes. So how is it that he's going to bestow his favor upon me? So in answer to that, we have this final term in this verse, Sachinandanam. That Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is a son, Mother Sachi. And Charitamrita is the mother of the entire universe. So just as a mother has so much affection for her children, I remember once my mother was a very loving mother, very caring. She once told me, she said, you know, I think I will always love you. Even if you murdered someone and you were in prison, still I would love you. That's the causeless affection of a mother. And of course, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy and affection is millions of times greater than that of an ordinary mother. So there's a saying in Sanskrit, Kuputro jayate kvachit api kumata nabhavati. This is from Mahabharata. I think it also appears in some different stotras, that a son may be evil. Kuputro jayate, he may turn out to be evil. But kvachit api kumata nabhavati. But the mother is never considered evil. That's a really important point. Natalia in Vrindavaneshwari, you should tell that, Brindasundar, you should tell that to your children. So this is an important thing that you should learn. A son may turn out to be evil, but a mother's never evil. We can't consider that. So Gauranga Mahaprabhu, as I like to sometimes in a sweet way say, that he's not a brahmachari, he's a mamachari. He's a devotee of his mother. And it's by her mercy that he's going to give his mercy upon us. So this question comes, when someone hears all these fantastic qualities of Mahaprabhu and how merciful he is, and finally, how Sada Hridaya Kandare Sparatuva, he appears in your heart. Wow, that's really good, but how does that apply to me? I've committed so many offenses, and I don't have any attraction to Mahaprabhu's pastimes. So the answer is his last words, Sri Sachinandana, because he's a son of Mother Sachi. And it's by her mercy that she will definitely, that Mahaprabhu will definitely give his mercy upon all of us. So in regards to this, there's a number of different conversations between Mahaprabhu and Sachimata, and Advaita Acharya and Sachimata. In Chaitanya Bhagavat, there's a description. Mahaprabhu was staying in the home of Advaita Acharya, and Mother Sachi, she told Nimai Pandit Vishwambar, she said, you know how much pain was caused by your brother Vishwarup, that he just left. And now it seems like I have so much sin from so many previous lives, and now it's all fructified, because now I'm also losing you. I've already lost your father. I lost your older brother. So if I die today like your father, then I'll be relieved of my lamentation and my grief and the sarcastic comments of people, my shame and everything. We'll come back to the sarcastic comments in a moment. She said, let everything happen after my death. And if I don't die today, then maybe I should drink poison, or maybe I should drown myself in the Ganga. Because if I don't do that, then people will sarcastically, and she speaks about atistuti ninda. Atistuti ninda, in Chaitanya Charitamrita is a saying, atistuti hoy e nindara lakshana. That atistuti ninda means to over-glorify someone. The disciple loves Gurudev. And the disciple may say, Gurudev, you're an incarnation of Krishna. You're a Leela avatar. Gurudev, you're going to save the whole world. You're this, you're that. Now, if your Guru Maharaj is Nityananda Prabhu, that may be a bona fide thing to say. But if he's not, he may feel a little unhappy with that. Just like someone who comes to you in school or something and says, wow, you are the most beautiful girl in the whole school. You're the most intelligent boy in the whole school. And they just start going on and on and on. And you're just like, yeah, let me get out of here. Leave me alone. You know, it's too much what they're saying. When generally it happens when people want to get something from us. But in this case, Sachimata is saying that people will criticize me by saying, they'll call me Vishvambara Mata, that she's the mother of Vishvambara. And she says this will be over-glorification, and by this over-glorification, I'm going to feel criticized. Because Atistuti Ninda, too much glorification is a kind of criticism. And we'll come back to that, how that's a criticism. So Sachimata is speaking still, and she says, no one's going to want to talk to me, no one's going to even want to say my name. They'll all say, don't speak her name because you'll lose whatever piety you have. She's so unfortunate. Throw her out of Nabadweep. Well, Sachimata is saying this in her intense ecstasy of viraha because her son is about to leave home. And she's saying, in this way, Nabadweep, everybody's going to criticize me in Nabadweep. What should I do? So this over-glorification is a kind of criticism. In response to his mother's words, Gauranga Mahaprabhu replies, Mata mavadamavadedrishamaho kashtati kashtam vachahas tatyam te nigadami yami bhavanat tistami yadyanyataha Tvamata mama sarva desha vasato devari janmasapi Tvat putro hamaham sadatri jagatam archastvam archamama. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Mata mavadama, my dear mother, Mata, don't speak like this. These are very, very painful words. Aho kashtati kashtam vachas. You're saying very painful things. Tatyante nigadami yami bhavanat tistami yadyanyata. I'm telling you the truth. Even if I leave home. Tvam mata mama sarva desha vasato devari janma sapi. Even if I leave home, still wherever I am, mama sarva desha vasato, tvam mata mama sarva desha vasato. Wherever I am, you'll always remain my mother in all those places. Devari janma sapi. You're my mother even in other births, even amongst the demigods, etc. Tvat putraham maham sadatri jagatam archastvam archamama. I'm always your son. Tri jagati, in all the three worlds, I'm always worshipful. Aham sada, tri jagatam archastvam archamama, and you're always my worshipable deity. So then Sachidnandana, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, begins to speak about the glories of addressing him as Sri Sachinandan. Sarva sadhanahinopi mahapapa sahasrakrit Sachisuta iti prokta saganamam vasamnaya Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare 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 Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Sarva sadhanahina. Even someone, they're not doing any sadhana at all. Even Mahapapa Sahasrakrit. They've committed thousands of terrible sins. But Sachi Sutta iti proktaha. If they address me as Sachi Sutta, the son of Mother Sachi, Saganam mam vasamnayat, that person conquers me, along with all my associates, Saganam, all the associates that I had. Sagyani sarva shastra gya, sapremi mat priyodika, Sachinandana ityeva yena harshena giyate. There's someone who sings with great joy. the name Sachinandana, if they speak the Sachinandana iti eva yena harshina giyate, they speak us with great joy. That devotee becomes very, very dear to me. Sagyani sarva shastra gyani. That person, he's really a true gyani. He really knows shastra. Saprema mat priyodika. He's very, very dear to me. Mat krenati jano dhanya parikrenati mad ganam. Sachinandana ityevam yo bidete katanchana. If somehow or other, even accidentally, but if someone addresses me as Sachinandana, then I become purchased along with all my associates. And he gives so many wonderful verses glorifying anyone who just utters the name Sachinandana, or even someone who says the word Navadvip, the residence of Sachimata. He says, Yo Vedat Savadat Chastram Veda Vedanta Sangraham. That person, we can understand, they've recited all the Vedic literatures, all the Vedanta, everything. Janma Janmani Tat Prito Jato Hamba Vedet Kvachit Shisachiti 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 Same Guru. He says, at any point, someone who says 3 times, Shri Sachi, Shri Sachi, Shri Sachi. Maybe we can all turn our microphones on. And we can all just say this 3 times together just for my happiness. Everybody, please turn your mics on. Gornitai is not on. Okay? 3 times. Gornitai, turn your mic on. Everybody has their mic on. Shri Sachi, Shri Sachi.
Shri Sachi, Shri Sachi, Shri Sachi.
Okay, now you can turn your microphones back off. He says, anybody who says like that, Same Guru, that person, he's like my guru. And Janma Janmani Tat Prito Jito Hambo Vagyat Kvachit. I am very pleased with that person in each and every life. So the answer to that question, that even someone may say, but these are all really nice things that you're telling, but it doesn't apply to me. I'm such an offender. Now the answer is Sri Sachinandana. That you just say the names, you address Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as Sri Sachi. Even a great offender becomes very dear to Gauranga Mahaprabhu. And to tell us this, Rupa Goswami, the author of the verse, he concludes this verse by using his name Sri Sachinandana. So understanding this, we should chant and glorify this particular name of the Lord. Shri Gauranga Mahaprabhu, Sri Sachinandana Gaura Hari Ki Jai. And by doing so, it's implied, we'll become free from all of offenses, even though we may be troubled by them so much in the present way. So I'd like now to just go over a little bit about some of the glories of Sachimata and why is she so prominent in this particular verse, which speaks about Unnata Ujjvala Rasa Sabhakti Shriyam, which means Manjari Bhav. Why Sachimata is mentioned in particular there. So in Chaitanya Mangala, Lochan Das Thakur, in the Madhya Lila, Lochan Das Thakur sings, Kiba Vishnu Priya, Kiba Mora Mata Sachi, Ye Bajai Krishna Ta Kole Ami Achi, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Mahaprabhu is telling us, Sono, you listen. This is very important. You want my mercy. You want to associate with me. Sada Hridaya Kandare Sparatuva. You want me to appear in your heart. Then you call out the name of Sri Sachinandana. Why? Kiba Vishnu Priya, Kiba Mora Mata Sachi. Because I'm always staying in the embrace of Vishnu Priya. I'm always in the embrace of Sachimata. And anyone, Jai Bajai Krishna Tar Koli Amiyachi, anyone who worships Krishna. 3 very important points. We should appreciate Vishnu Priya. We may appreciate Vishnu Priya in a little bit of a covered way, because Mahaprabhu has not come to perform conjugal mellow in this pastime, in this avatar, in this original form. But Vishnupriya is there, and we appreciate Vishnupriya. We think of Vishnupriya and her renunciation, and how she's taking 1 grain of rice for each mala that she's chanting on her japa every day. And Mahaprabhu is always there with her. And we should understand that Mahaprabhu is always there with Mother Sachi, and Mahaprabhu is always there with anyone who worships Krishna. What is it in Chaitanya Bhagavat, Krishna? What's that verse? Remember? Mahaprabhu tells the devotees, he said, if you really love me, you love my instructions. Jadiyama. Yeah, thank you very much. Jadiyama pratisneha take sabakar. Tabe Krishna vyakti rikta nagadeha. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. He says, if you really love me, don't chant my name. Chant Krishna's name. And because Mahaprabhu is in the mood of Radha, and as we've often commented on that verse too, that Radharani is not so much pleased as some Sakhi comes to her and starts chanting Radhe, Radhe, Radhe. She feels some mercy. But if you go to Radha and you chant the name of Krishna, Shrimati Radharani becomes very, very pleased. And Mahaprabhu is taken on that mood. So there's a conversation in Madhya Lila chapter 27 of the Chaitanya Bhagavat. Sachi Mata, when she heard that her Nimai, her Vishwambar, was going to take sannyas, she became so distressed. Hena dukkha jamidana janiyachi kota. She didn't know where she was. She was falling unconscious to the ground. She was crying and crying, begging her son with tears in her eyes, please don't leave me. She's addressing herself as a very sinful person. And she said, my only hope is just that I can survive is just by looking at your face. And then she tells her son that you can stay home and do Sankertang here. It's okay. You don't have to join the Hare Krishna movement. You don't have to move into the temple. You don't have to go to Jagannath Puri. You can stay here and do Sankirtan with your devotees headed by Advaita and Srivas and Nityananda and Gadadhar. And she tells him, Dharma Bhuji Gyapapa Tarahavatar Janani Chatbibi Ekon Dharmera Vichar. You come here. Your purpose to advent in this place is to speak about Dharma. Well, what kind of Dharma is it to leave your mother? That's terrible. And Vishwambar Nimai was listening to this. Premiti Rodita Kantana Kori Uttara. His voice became choked up and he couldn't say anything. And in Sachimata, she said, your elder brother's left me. Your father's gone to Vaikuntha. But I tolerated all that and I forgot all my grief just by looking at your face. But if you leave me, then I'm going to die. And when Sachimata began to speak like this to Vishwambar, Nimai Pandit, and he's addressed here as Vishwambar, why not Nimai? Vishwambar means that personality who maintains the universe. So indirectly, Vrindavan Das Thakur is addressing Mahaprabhu perhaps and saying that you maintain the universe, you should maintain your mother also. And when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard Sachimata lamenting like this, he just hung his head down. He couldn't raise his head and he couldn't speak a word. And Sachimata began to shake. She was overcome with lamentation. She couldn't eat anymore. And then Prabhu Deki, Janana Jivana Narahi, Mahaprabhu realized my mother's not going to survive. She'll die. Nibrite Bashi Kichu Gopya Katakai. He took her to a solitary place. And Vishwambar Nimai began to speak to his mother about how dear she is to him. Prabhu bole mata tumi stira koro man, shuna jata jama ami tomadananda. He said, hey, Mata, Listen to me. Mata tuma stira karaman. Pacify your mind. You should hear Suna Jata Janma Ami Tomaranandan. How many lifetimes I've been your son. Previously, you came. You were known as Prishni, and I became your son. Later on, you became Aditi, and I became your son. I became known as Vamanadev. Later on, you came as Devahuti, and I became Kapiladev. Then you became Koshalya, and I became Ramachandra. Then you became Devaki and Mathura, and you were locked up in the prison of Kamsa. At that time, you're also my mother. You're that same Devaki, and I'm your son. And then Mahaprabhu told Sachimata, just when he's about to go to take sannyas. Now understand, we spoke at length about this in previous sessions, the inner meaning of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's sannyas. It's the mood of Radha, giving up everything and fully embracing her, running to Krishna. So this is Mahaprabhu's sannyas. He's giving up everything. But Sachimata, at this point, she's saying, I'm going to die. And I can't survive without seeing you. So then Mahaprabhu tells her, Aradui janma e Sankirtana rambe hoy bitomara putra ami avilambe. She said that while starting the Sankertang movement, I'm going to take 2 more births as your son. This is an interesting verse, just as a little footnote. I don't mean to quarrel with anyone, but many devotees, they compile all these predictions of the things that they say were predicting Srila Prabhupada. And this is one of the verses that Mahaprabhu is going to come, he's going to manifest or give potency to Srila Prabhupada. Maybe, but I've marked in my readings in Gaudiya Vaishnavism, my meetings with different sadhus, that basically everybody in their group says that their guru, their acharya, or other personalities are predicted, that they're fulfillment of these predictions. I'm not so much inclined to cite those things unless they're crystal clear, unless Srila Prabhupada himself said it. But then Mahaprabhu tells his mother something I find very significant. Mora archa murti mata tumi sedarani, jiva rupa tumi mata namera janani. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So let's put this in context now. That we're hearing how Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will appear in the heart of a devotee, but then someone has this doubt, well, he may appear in the heart of certain persons, but I'm such an aparati, why will he appear in my heart? And then the answer given is Sri Sachinanda. You just meditate on Mahaprabhu, you meditate on the name Sri Sachinanda. You think of him that way, you address him in that way. And then definitely you'll get that prema. So to further answer that question, what does that mean? What is the position of Sachimata? I want to look at this verse from Madhya Lila of Chaitanya Bhagavat. Mahaprabhu addresses his mother, Mura Archa Murti. My dear mother, when I become the deity, Mura Archa Murti, then Mata Tumi Siddharni. At that time, you are my mother as the earth. Jiva Rupa Tumi Mata Namera Janani. And in my form as the holy names, you're my mother as the tongue. So indirectly, as I see it in this verse, the author is indicating by saying Sri Sachinandana, Sparatu va Sri Sachinandana, Hridaya Kandare Sparatu va Sri Sachinandana, that Mahaprabhu Sadar Hridaya Kandare, he'll always appear in your heart. When you understand him as the son of Sachimata, well, how is that practical? Well, here's 2 ways that it's practical. One is that we worship the deity of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And when we worship that deity is made, he's made from brass, he's made from wood, he's made of stone. Whatever that deity is made from, originally it comes from the earth. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was explaining that you're my mother. So you're the source of that deity. So these are two ways that we all associate with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, even though we can't see him, even though, as we're going back to that question that the person had, that I'm a great offender, I can't see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So that's okay. You think of him as the son of Mother Sachi. What does it mean that I think of him as the son of Mother Sachi? Here's one answer, that you worship the deity of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu when you think that Sachi Mata is the mother of that deity. Secondly, Jiva Rup Tumi Mata Namera Janani. When the holy names are being chanted, Mahaprabhu says, my dear mother, you're my mother, whenever someone's chanting my names, the holy names, as the tongue in everyone's Jiva Rup. Right? So Sachi Mata is everyone's tongue. When we start chanting the names of Gauranga Mahaprabhu, or chanting the names of Krishna, there's no difference between Krishna and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We start chanting those names, the Lord appears in that form as a name. And again, Sachi Mata is there as his mother, is the tongue. So we're dependent. We because we're such offenders, the question's coming in this commentary, I'm such an offender, the Sada Hridaya Kandare Spadatu Vaye, that Lord's not appearing in my heart. I don't see him. So Sachinandana. So we should think of Mahaprabhu as Sachinandan, and as we read some verses a moment ago, we should chant the name of Sri Sachinandan. We should address Mahaprabhu like that. And Mahaprabhu was very, very pleased by that. And we have a connection with these two forms, with the deity of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and with the holy names. And the holy names here means both the name of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, is Sachinandan, and the name of Krishna. Because when we're chanting the name of Krishna, that's also our connection with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because we're doing it as service for Gauranga Mahaprabhu. So in both of those cases, Sachi Mata, she appears as the mother of the deity in the form of the earth, and the mother of the holy name when she appears as the tongue. So there's so many things. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu goes on to glorify his mother. And he says some very interesting things. Prabhu bole Krishna Bhakti Jai Kichu Amar Kebala Ekanta Shaba Prasade Tomar. He said that whatever devotion to Krishna that I have, it's just by your mercy. We should think like that. So that's very significant to us, because whatever devotion to Krishna that we have is by the mercy of Gauranga Mahaprabhu, which is by the mercy of Sri Gurudev. And Sachi Mata is a very relevant part of that. Koti dasa dasa raye sambandhe tomar, say jana prana hoiti valabha amar. He says, if someone is a servant of the servant of the servant, a million times removed, but the servant of the servant, somewhere they're serving you. That person, Mahaprabhu says, say jana prana hoiti valabha amar. He's more dear to me than my own life. And if someone just bar eka jay jana toma kori be smarna, if someone just remembers you, bar eka, just one time, tabu kabu nahibeka samsara bandhana, then they're not going to be caught up in material bondage. Shakala pavita kori jay Ganga Tulsi, that Ganga Devi and Tulsi, they're known to purify everyone. He says, but tarao hoyena danya tomari parasi, parasi means sparashi, that the Ganga and Tulsi, they're known, they purify everyone. But Ganga and Tulsi, you're purified by your touch. Mahaprabhu says, Tumi jata kodi jachi amara palana, amara shakti itaha nahibe shodana. I have no way to repay my debt to you for the affection you've given me. Amara palana, palana means to maintain me. You maintain me. Dande dande jata sneha korli amare tomara sadguni satahari pratikari. Therefore, all I can say, very beautiful thing, dande dande jata sneha korli amare. Let your good qualities, tomara sadguni satahari pratikari. Let your good qualities be your compensation. This is the same thing that Krishna told the gopis. In the Napariyaham Niravajyasam Yujam verse, he says that what is it? Ipratiyatu sadhuna. He said, let your own qualities be your glory. This is the same thing that he's saying to Sachi Mata. So many different pastimes are there. In Chaitanya Charitamrita in Jagannath Puri, Gauranga Mahaprabhu began to speak to Srivas Thakur about the glories of his mother. Because really, he's a mamachari. He's a devotee of his mother. And he told him, you take this prasadam, some Mahaprasad of Jagannath and some cloth, and give them to my mother. You dandavat kori amara kshamaya aparad. Kshamai means that you ask for forgiveness for aparad, for the offenses I've committed. Offer your dandavats to her and ask her, please forgive his offenses. And he says that you should understand, I've done this. I've given this up. I gave up the service of my mother. And I accepted the sannyas order, but I shouldn't have done that. Dharma nahi kori ami nija dharmanas. Because by doing that, I've destroyed my religious principles. Ami nija dharmanas. Mahaprabhu speaks in such a sweet way. This is his message to Sachi Mata. He says, Tanya prema basa ami tanya seva dharma. Tahachari koriyachi batulera karma. He says that I am controlled by the love of my mother. It's my duty, my dharma, tanra seva, to serve her in return, but not doing that tahachari. I gave everything up and I took this renounced order. Koriyachi batulera karma. This is batulera karma. Batulera karma means the activity of a mad person. But batula balakera mata nahi loyadosh. A mother's not offended even if her son is mad. So understanding is my mother's not offended by me. And he said that ki koi sannyasi mora prema nijadan. I really had no business to take this sannyas and sacrifice my love for my mother, which is my only real property. And he says, actually, I was just crazy when I took sannyas. And here I am staying in Jagannath Puri now because my mother told me to stay here. And she thinks that I'm gone. But you should understand. Madhye madhye asimu tanna charana dekiti. That regularly I'm going there to see my mother. And he says that nitya jai deki mui tanhara charani spurti gyani ten hotaha satya nahimani. That she thinks it's just a spurti. She thinks it's not real. She doesn't believe it. She feels my presence. She sees me. He says, he says, Srivas Thakur, here's what I want you to tell my mother. Ekadina shalyana vyanjana panchasata shaka mocha ganta brishta pato nimba pata limbu ada kanda dadi dugda kanda shar shalagrami samapilina bahu upahar. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Several interesting points about this verse. One is he says, Shalagrami Samarpilinu Bahu Upahar. That my mother is offering all these things to the shalagram every day. That's very interesting. Did you know it's a little controversial? Because some people say that women should not worship the shalagram Shila. But here very clearly Mahaprabhu was saying, my mother was worshiping shalagram Shila. Maybe as a widow. Her husband wasn't there to do, I don't know. There's no explanation. But the fact is that she was worshiping shalagram. And he said, you tell my mother this thing. Ekadin, one day, Shalyana, she was offering some rice along with some sali patties, some special leaves. And Vyanjana Panchasatas, different types of vegetables and banana leaves. And so he mentioned so many different nice things. Nimba patra, some neem leaves, mocha ghanta, some curry made out of banana flowers, potala, with so many nice different things. And he says that one day, when all this happened, Sachimata, she made all these things. Prasadalana kole korena trandana nimarya priyamora eshava vyanjana. At that time, my mother took all this food on her lap, and koina krandana means to cry. She began to cry, thinking, Nimai priyamora, my Nimai, these foods are all very dear to my Nimai. And then she was thinking, Nimani nahika eta kikore bojan, muradyani ashujali barila noyana. He says that one day, my mother was crying and thinking, Nimai's not here. Who is going to accept this food? And she was thinking like this, and she began to cry and cry. And Mahaprabhu said, Shigrajai Muni Sabha Koina Bhakshana. Sigra means very quickly. Very, very quickly. I ran there very quickly because I saw she was thinking like this. Shunya Pata Deki Ashu Kori Marjana. And then I ate everything on the plate, so there was nothing left. And when Sachimata saw the Sunya Patra Deki, she saw the Patra was Sunya, there was nothing left on it. Asha Kori Marjana. She wiped away her tears. And then she started thinking, Kayana Vyanjana Kaila Sunya Kena Pata. Who ate all this? And she was thinking, Bala Gopal Kiba? Kaila Sababaki? The Bala Gopal Didi ate everything? Maybe he wasn't thinking the Salagrams ate everything, but perhaps Bala Gopal ate everything. And then she started thinking, did I put anything on the plate to begin with? Or maybe some animal came and took everything away? Did I put anything on the plate? Did I actually cook? So she went back in the kitchen. She saw the pots. Pots all have vegetables and rice and things in them. She was very, very confused. Mahaprabhu says, "Ay mata jabi kori na utama randana, more kayoitai kori utkantaya rodana." That now, whenever she cooks something for me and she wants to feed it to me, she begins to cry in great anxiety. At that time, Tanner premi ani amai kori bhojane, antare manai suk bhai nahi mani. I become obliged by her love. And she brings me there forcibly. I can't refuse. I have to go there. And I eat everything. And he says, Antare manera suk. My mother knows these things internally. And she gets some happiness. But bhai nahi mani. She doesn't accept it externally. So this is Gauranga Mahaprabhu, that he's always controlled by his mother. He's always eating what his mother serves him. And we can associate with him in these two forms, in the form as deity, in the form of chanting the holy names. And whatever form that we associate with him in, either one of those forms, we think that he's definitely the son of Mother Sachi. And he gets great pleasure with that. Indirectly also, I have to say, in terms of kind of some Dharma Shastra, and I won't go in that direction. Sometimes we give elaborate classes about this. I won't go there now. We're a little bit late. But the mother is considered to be the most important person in our life. She's due respect. It says in the Mahabharata, it says in the Naradiya Purana and Narada Pancharatra, that she's due hundreds and hundreds of times more respect than the father. And that's why, according to Narada Pancharatra, we say Radha Krishna or Radha Madhav instead of saying Krishna's name first. And it said that if there in Narada Pancharatra, it says if you do the other way, you put Krishna's name before Radha, you'll get the sin of killing a Brahmin. And as we comment sometimes, I don't know exactly how that works, don't ask. But at least it's not appreciated by the Lord. And why is that? Because Jagannatha Shiradika, because Radharani is the mother of the universe, and Krishna is the father, and the mother is worthy of respect 100 times more than the father. So that mother, that's a significant point for all of us also, because Sachimata is the mother of the universe, and she's both a person and a principle. Just as we were speaking a few days ago about Guru, Guru is both a person and a principle. We should respect him like that, just like our father. My father, when I was growing up, was a teacher in school. He was teaching mathematics and science, and he was also teaching, he was a coach for the swim team. So he's a person and a principle. He was, as a principal, he was a teacher of certain subjects. And as a principal, he's the father who gave me birth and gave me instructions, but he's also a person, and I have a personal relationship with him. So Sachi Mata is the mother of the universe, which means also that we can respect her through all of our mothers and through respecting the principle of mother. And doing that, and especially understanding, as Rupa Goswami says here in this verse, Sada Hridaya Kandare Sparatuva. We want Gauranga Mahaprabhu's pastimes to always appear in our heart, but we may feel that I'm an offender, I have no qualification for that. And then he says, it's okay. Vasachinandana. You meditate on Mahaprabhu as Sachinandana. You meditate on him as a Mamachari, as a son of Mother Sachi, and you'll get so much mercy because then his heart melts. So I want to stop there. I'm sorry we got a little later than I wanted, but I finished this commentary, and that's gives me some happiness. Let's see here. Somebody. Ujjala Rasiga, where is the reading of Gauranga's words from, please? Well, I'm from Chaitanya Bhagavat. I'm saying that. And from a number of different places. There's some verses which are found in this commentary, which are Sanskrit verses, and I'm not really sure where they're from. And there's also verses we read from Chaitanya Charitamrita, from Chaitanya Mangal and Chaitanya Bhagavat. Chaitanya Mangal, Madhya Lila, Song 38. Chaitanya Bhagavat, Madhya Lila, chapter 27, text 19, roughly 19 to, 40 to about roughly text 50. Again, in Chaitanya Bhagavat, Untitled Lila, chapter 4, text 53 to 59. Again, in Chaitanya Charitamrita, we're speaking about Mahaprabhu telling Srivas Pandit about the glories of his mother and get this message for her. That's from Madhya Lila, Chaitanya Charitamrita, chapter 15, text 47 to 67. That's a technical question. Okay, Ujjala Rasiga, she's slipping away, but she makes a comment before she runs. And maybe next we'll ask Brinda Sundari if she wants to say something, because I think she may have to go too. Ujjala Rasiga says, may Sachinandana Goda Hari kindly arrange that I may serve more of his katha, give more time for it too. Vishwambar Gauranga Ki Jai, a pleasure to receive at least a droplet of soul-saving katha. Thank you so much. She couldn't turn her camera on. Anyway. Hare Krishna. So, Brinda Sundari, do you have any reflections you want to share with us today?
Well, I think today was the first time I really understood the meaning of Hari, because I admit I didn't quite understand what it means to take away everything, and why that would be good. I mean, I sort of understand, but then it made sense when you were saying that when we really need to like meditate on something, it means everything else needs to go away, so we can focus just on Krishna. It means he takes everything away so we can just be focused on him. So it just hit me today that and I was wondering, you were saying that sarcastic remark, you were going to mention that later, and I'm not sure you did.
Yeah, maybe I kind of covered that. Atistuti Nanda, she's speaking in that kind of sarcastic way, saying that people, if they address me as Sachi Mata, or the mother of Vishwambar, the mother of Sachinandan, my son, then that's going to be a kind of criticism. Because how am I really his mother if I'm letting you take sannyas? And therefore, when they say, they address me as Sachi Mata, they're actually criticizing me. Because how can you be really the mother of Nimai if you let him take sannyas? It's indirect criticism. It's a very subtle society. A very beautiful, beautiful thing. Does that make sense now?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Anything else you have?
Well, I was sort of feeling that Mahaprabhu's situation with his mother and taking sannyas, it was sort of relatable. I felt like he has these relatable situations where if he makes one decision, then people are upset. If he makes another decision, that other are upset. And he's in this very, to decide to take sannyasas is like he needed to do this out of his compassion. And he also didn't want to leave this relationship with his mother. So I found it just to be heartwarming how relatable it is, and that it's both, that it's not like he's necessarily not her son anymore, and he's not necessarily sannyas, so he somehow harmonizes, but he's still in that tension.
That's one reason why Krishna in the Gita says, Jamma karma chame divyam evam yodati tattvata chatvad punarvan. That you should understand my janma and my lila, especially when he comes and is manifests as Nara lila, or as human-like pastimes. It's very, very sweet. We just think about him as God, and he creates everything, and he destroys everything, and he sits up in a cloud with a lightning bolt, and it's very detached and it's kind of boring in a sense. But when we think about him and his human-like pastimes, it's so very, very sweet. And that manifestation of the Lord like that, as Sachinandan, is a worthy repository for us to give our love and affection to. Because everybody gives a love to their mother, naturally, isn't it? Okay, thank you very much. I really liked your comments the other day on the Bhagavatam class, and I marked that you deleted them afterwards. I thought that's okay. There was some reason.
I don't know how they deleted because I didn't do it.
Oh, you didn't? Oh, okay. I thought you did it on purpose. Certain people didn't want to see that or something. Anyway, it's okay. They were great comments, so I really appreciate it. Okay, and let's see here. Tirtha Karpabu, do you want to share something with us?
Yeah, actually, I was thinking about that statement we were saying by the beginning of the class, that if I remember correctly, that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gives this blessing that we can actually meditate on his pastimes, or they will manifest in our heart, right? Spontaneously. And related with that, actually, I wanted to ask you a question, because how is it that I really like to listen pastimes and Krishna Katha, and I enjoyed myself. I purposely created many groups of devotees that I can do it with them also too. But at the same time, I enjoy sense gratification. So where is it going,
Yeah, we're works in progress. It's a fact, and thank you for being so genuine like that. It's always a problem, especially if you look in terms of sociology, to speak in kind of a sociological perspective. In terms of sociology, when you have people who are converts to a new religion, which most all of us here, I don't think anybody was born into Krishna consciousness here in this group. Mayapur Chandraprabhu is here tonight. He was born in that. Ujjwala Rasiga, I think she was born in a South Indian Vaishnavi family. And that's about it. We're all converts. And the nature of converts is they have to work twice as hard as the people who are naturally born in it, which means, is translated, it means that they're fanatics a lot of times. And they have to because they lost all their previous friends. They don't know their footing in the new religion and the new world. They don't know how to present themselves, but they want that attention, they want that affection, so they try to push themselves forward. So for you to comment like that, very frankly, I want this kind of prestige, which honestly we all do, I think to some extent or another. That's a very good kind of comment. So yeah, we're works in progress. We keep hearing these things, and by hearing these things, and especially by hearing them with different devotees that we respect, by hearing them from devotees who have feelings for the Lord and for the Lord's devotees, then something comes up in our heart, some detachment and some shame, some disgust, some shame and disgust toward being glorified ourselves. I really don't want that. It's really nonsense. And I see all these exalted persons in such a sangha, where such exalted persons are speaking this Krishna Katha, and they don't want anything for themselves. And that's a very important point. Because as you presented, you've been a speaker many times, and all of us, I think, in this little song have been speakers, if nothing else, at least on the street or in the supermarket, or sometime we spoke to someone about Krishna. We've all been speakers. And who is a proper speaker? We've been commenting about that in our last few sessions on our discussions about the Brahma Gita. And a proper speaker is someone who's not speaking for their own benefit, but they're just doing it for the pleasure of the Lord. And when we can enter into a sangha like that, wow, wow, wow. It's so sweet, and we really don't feel any pressure. Subtly, sometimes we enter into assembly and someone's trying to impress us. And maybe they're dropping little hints, that yeah, the last place I was at, they gave me a lot of donations, and you guys seem really nice here also. Or, we have this project we're doing and we really need this or that. And not that those things are necessarily wrong, or that someone who's a pure devotee may not speak those things either. But if that's their main motivation, if it's a selfish motivation and being manifest in that way, if it's a divine motivation, they may also speak that way. We should be careful. But if they're speaking just to get some followers or get some money for themselves, then all of a sudden it all becomes cheap. Just like when a boy comes to a girl and tells her, says, there's so many girls here, but I just got to tell you, I really love you, and you're just so beautiful. Then that girl thinks, wow, that's so special. I'm so happy. But then she mentions it to one of her girlfriends the next day, and her girlfriend says, he's gone around and told 10 different girls that in the last week. Then all of a sudden, instead of feeling very sweet and happy, you feel disgusted. You feel angry. This is so cheap. This is so disgusting. But when there's no motivation for it, it's just for the pleasure of the Lord, then we feel so happy in our heart. But if it becomes cheapened by our desire for some prestige or something, it's so terrible. One effective way to avoid that is parasparano katanam. This verse that we always quote practically, 11.330, the Bhagavatam, that we should have paraspara, should be back and forth like we're doing right now. And different devotees take turns speaking something, we hear, wow, damn, that's such a nice realization. And all of a sudden, it's not just about me as a speaker, but it's more about the sangha and the interaction that's going on. And we need that because we have this disease of wanting to be on the stage and wanting to be the big person and everything. And we've seen so many times, I think in one sense, this is why in our society today, I'm speaking very frankly, that we appreciate kirtaniyas a lot, but people who speak in Krishna Katha, not so much, especially young people, because we've seen so many people who speak Krishna Katha, they're trying to get something. Whereas maybe we feel like the kirtaniyas, they really don't want anything. They just want to do kirtan. Whether that's true or not is another thing. But I think oftentimes in our society, devotees feel that way. And so that's an important point. It's a nice thing you brought out. Thank you. Anything else you have, Prabhuji?
Well, I was also thinking in related with that Matirna Krishna Parataksvatava, with the verse, what the levels of our determination for Krishna Katha and for sense gratification, if just by that regularly attending that Krishna Katha and participating in it, if let's say if it will win, the winner party will be the Krishna, because the spiritual energy is stronger, right, than the material. So
what happened?
It must
even this last week, probably a theme in my mind almost every day has been how merciful Srila Prabhupada has been, and how he's saving the whole world, and he has room for everybody in this house of his, even demons. And many demons joined the movement. And some of them had big positions, and some of them molested children, some of them murdered devotees, some of them did outrageously terrible things, and they're demons. And we don't want to associate with them. It's very dangerous for us. We may even want to call the police on them. But at the same time, they're not ordinary demons. They're devotee demons. They're Prabhupada's demons. And they're special. They've gotten some touch of the holy name and something. And that should give us some hope. That we don't hate those demons. We hate what they've done. As the Bible says, we hate the sin and not the sinner. We don't hate them because they're devotee demons. It's been my meditation this week. Okay.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Gorni Tai Prabhu, do you want to share something with us?
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much for your enthusiastic explanation of this relationship between Lord Chaitanya. And yes, thank you very much again to Srila Prabhupada that he came to the world where almost all the values, pure values, are destroyed by this Kali Yuga, by us. I destroyed also a lot of values in my life, previous life. So yes, and we will not go back home, we will not join really to Krishna consciousness by philosophy. We will join Krishna consciousness by emotions, by rebuild emotions for family members, rebuild the relationship with mothers, fathers, because in the spiritual world, they are mothers, fathers. There are nice friends. In the matter world, maybe we made a lot of mistakes, but we have to correct by this kind of kathas. When we hear about these emotions of between Lord Chaitanya and his mother, so that's impressed me very much. And also, I remember when I first read the Damodar Lila very deeply, how Mother Yashoda loves Krishna, and how she's thinking what is her logic of all of that actions. That's impressed me a lot, and that's made me really change of my life. Yes, I have to develop again emotions for mothers, sisters, daughters, sons. This helps me a lot to become a normal person first, and then maybe later become a good devotee. So thank you very much, this kind of katha.
I have to interject a little comment that Prabhupada used to often, a verse that Prabhupada used to often quote from the great Vaishnava Vidyapati, Sutamita Ramani Rachinta Samaj. Vidyapati says that you're not meditating on Krishna. Instead, you've put your wife, your children, your mother, your parents on the platform of love instead of Krishna. And that's heavily criticized throughout the Bhagavatam in many different places. So we should understand the subtle difference between that kind of affection, which is detrimental and is criticized and condemned repeatedly, and what we're talking about here. If we have relationships which are based on Krishna, if a mother is raising her children and she's just raising them as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says in Chaitanya Mangala, like a mother pig, so many little baby piglets, and she's just feeding them, and maybe they're getting some mundane education, but they're not hearing about Krishna. He says she's no better than a pig. So there's no value to that. But if that same mother is taking care of the children and she's talking to them about Krishna, she's taking them to the temple, she's encouraging them to offer respects to sadhus, to give donations, and to serve the Lord in different ways, then they develop a loving relationship. And in that relationship, we may find emotions like sadness. If the child suddenly has an accident and the child dies or something, Hare Krishna, the mother, they'll cry. But that crying is not mundane if that relationship is really based on Krishna. And rather, that crying, those feelings are very helpful for our bhakti, because we're crying because I lost a devotee. So in our relationships, we have to develop relationships based on Krishna bhakti. That's my reflections. Thank you, Goni Tagore.
Yeah, they have a past. So I have a mother who didn't know anything about God, Krishna, but at least she accepted my research, my turning, in that way. She never really understood me, but at least she lovingly told, yes, yes, if you are happy, I'm happy. So that's what I mean.
And that's such a blessing for her, isn't it? You
Yeah.
just like so many devotees. After I moved into the temple a year or so afterwards, I went to San Jose, California, where I'd grown up, and I cooked a big feast for my family, invited everybody there, and we just stuffed them full of prasadam. And we did that a number of times, and they got so much blessings from that. And
Yeah.
just somebody says, what happened to your son? You haven't seen him in a few years. Oh, he joined the Hare Krishnas. They'll say, just by saying it, joined the Hare Krishnas, they're getting benefit like that. And Krishna
Yeah.
ultimately also sees if a devotee becomes a pure devotee, then
Yeah.
or he becomes initiated even, there's different verses like that, then 100 generations of your family, past and future, will be delivered. It's so auspicious. Thank you,
Yeah.
Prabhu.
Thank
I want to go on.
Thank you.
Natalia, do you want to share something with us tonight?
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. I got two key lilas, the most merciful lilas, which I hope if I repeat to somebody, they will work, even with my children, or even with somebody, because this if we meditating on Krishna's complexion is covered by Radha's complexion, and we thinking about it again and again, anybody will get Krishna Prem. And if we add this Gauranga Mahaprabhu is son of the most merciful Mother Universe, and if we add to that level, that will definitely happen. I will try to meditate it on them myself more often, and maybe I will try to repeat it. And about my mother, my mother also was amazing. She came for Kartik here to Estonia from Siberia, and she was with my children so to let me go to Galokatham. And she is a strict Orthodox. She has her sadhana, like every day is a very strict sadhana. And but she was really ready to serve my deities, my Jagannath, Baladev, and Subhadra. But I said no need at all. Just prepare food with love and that's enough. But she was ready to serve my deities.
That's beautiful. I have a godbrother, Madhava Pandit Prabhu, and he comes from a very conservative Jewish family. He's living in America, and he and his wife were worshiping deities of Jagannath. And at one point, they had to go somewhere for some time, so he asked his mother, could you just keep my deities and just, I don't know, keep them on a shelf and kind of dust them off? His mother's not a devotee at all. She's a conservative Jewish person. And he left, and he came back, and she became so attached to those deities, she started offering him nuts and fruits and things every day, and she didn't want to give them back to him. She became very, very attached to them. So that's by the mercy of the devotees, but we should also think that it's by the mercy of our mother that we've gotten this body, and we've gotten some inclination for bhakti somehow from her. We should give respect and appreciate, even though it may not seem very clear how that happened, but we should appreciate. We should always be grateful.
Yes, it seems she was meditating anyway on them, because as I came back, she was asking me so is it all Krishna? Because I have Gauranita and Jagannath, Baladev and Subhadra, 5 forms. Is it all Krishna? Please explain.
Thank you very much for that. That's really beautiful. Hare Krishna. Hey, Mayapur Chandra Prabhu, nice to see you tonight. Are you there, alive and well? Can you share something with us?
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Please accept my obeisance, Prabhuji. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to you.
We missed you.
I know. I have been kind of missing out a lot. Please pray for me. I know. I I'm asking you to do some seva for me. I'm so fallen, Prabhu, so please forgive me. So I just joined, so I'm kind of enjoying what all you do, because it just ended now, right? Because the clock has changed, so the class is ending now, right? I believe.
Yeah, it's just finishing now.
Yeah, because I'm still in the. I thought it would be about to start now, but then I realized everybody's sharing their realization, so I just joined like 10 minutes back, Prabhu. So
Oh. Yeah, we started about an hour and a half ago.
yes. So now it starts at 7:30. I mean at the Eastern time, not which is even better for me, because this time I have some meetings and all those things. But 7:30 to 8:30 would be better.
Oh,
So,
good.
but I'm kind of following them on the YouTube channel that you posted so kindly. So thank you so much. Thank you.
Nice to see you. Looks like you're nice and toasty warm in your room there.
Yes,
You should.
you know,
Marking what everybody's wearing.
yeah.
Hare Krishna. We miss your association, Prabhuji. I don't know when we're going to get it again. Hare Krishna.
Thank yes, Prabhuji.
Uh,
Hopefully very soon, Krishna willing.
Let's see, Brother Bhavita, would you like to share something? I'm afraid you may have to go. I don't know. You're working or something. I don't know what's going on with you.
Hare Krishna, I am usually working.
Okay.
This is my main sadhana.
You see
What
you?
I will try, because I'm in the car. I'm not driving. I stopped especially for listen. Let's see. You see me? You see me. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Krishna, I'm looking for you.
Yeah.
There you are. Yeah, I see
Yeah.
you now.
I will need to hold my phone, because otherwise it's a new. I don't know where to put it. So I will just hold it like that. Хорошо. From the end that I heard, I didn't hear all the class, because I am just joined in the second part.
Uh-huh.
So from the things that I heard, I like this idea of mother's principle. And I just was thinking that it's really pity that we are not talking about it in our glorious movement so much, because I think it's there is a place for this, for talking about this principle, mother principle, because somehow in Western culture, especially, the role of mother very putting down. And it's reflected on the relationship in sanghas and relationship in yatras everywhere. And I think it's pity. And what else I wanted to say? And another thing that I wanted to say also, that it's really touched, I was really touched to hear all these stories about mothers and this. And no, for me, all this is so stranger. I'm completely stranger from all these family feelings. With my story, we talk about it. So for me, it's just like kind of tales. I can listen, it touch my heart, but I'm not really experienced. So I don't know if I like it. If I'm lucky, I'm lacking of it. You understand? So it's okay. But yeah, but I'm happy with what is it. I mean, for me, it's all these emotions comes from completely different. How to say, different. No. Places, not from the family. I don't know. I don't know what is family is, and I'm not really put a value for this meaning of family, because I don't know what is it really. So for me, it's nothing. Say nothing. And but I do reflect it on on the katha, and I like it, and it's but I see all this like from different. I cannot reflect it on my on my past experience. I mean, I cannot put all this, like you say, in my relationship, in my family, with my mother or my father. I don't know. It doesn't matter how hard I'm trying. I cannot, connect between those things in my experience. But it's, but still, I like this principle, mother principle. Like I like guru principle. It's I can understand. I can relate it on this, even that I don't have this experience. But it sounds, it sounds how to say? It sounds sincerely. I mean, there is a truth in it. That's what I want to say. There is some truth in it. So that's all.
When you're speaking, you were saying, well, I haven't had this experience and I'm not like that. There's a line Mahaprabhu once told Advaita Charya, Yosi Sosi Namostute. Whatever you are, you are.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Wherever I am.
And that's just fun. That's a move. But as far as this mother principle, you made a comment in the beginning which really struck me that you feel like we need to bring this out more in our movement. And
yeah, exactly.
I speak about this subject quite a lot. I've given some seminars about the glories of mothers and things. And one of the points that we make, which I think is very important, is that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's preaching movement began just right after he performed this drama in the house of Buddhimanta Khan. And Mahaprabhu played the role of the mother of the universe. And he came out and he took all the devotees on his lap and he pulled out his breast and he breastfed all the devotees. And that's the beginning of the Sankertang movement. So the Sankertang movement really is feminine energy. The Sankertang movement really is motherly energy. It's not this con artist kind of thing, to defeat people or make arguments or whatever like that, which sometimes the men think. It's all a feminine energy. That's my humble understanding of it. Okay, thank you. Reed Prabhu, do you want to share?
Thank you.
Hare Krishna, good to see you. You're coming to India pretty soon? We should talk sometime or send us a message.
I have to see what's going on in close months. Then I will decide because it depends. I'm planning, but I can plan till tomorrow. But things happen, behind or how to say around that I can't control nothing. So I just can plan, but I have to see how things goes.
We're just thinking about you and wondering what's happening. Reed,
I want to come very much. Believe me that I wanted to live there. What can I tell you? But for now I cannot. And let's see how things will go. At least I can visit.
How you bring all your cats on the plane?
Till I can live there, my cats will go to another better world.
Okay. Hey Reed, nice to see you.
How do you roll? I was thinking it was very sweet to hear about Sachimata's relationship with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the importance she has in his life. And also there was a point that you made earlier in the Katha that just simply by meditating on the effulgence of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, one can attain Krishna Prema, which I thought was pretty far out.
It's pretty good, isn't it? Yeah. He's definitely very, very merciful. Mm-hmm. Okay, anything else?
That's all.
That's great. Thank you very much. I
appreciate the other devotees' comments as well. It's really sweet.
Yeah. One contribution I like from you every week is the wall behind you. That's just an awesome wall. That wall is made with cow dung and mud and different things, guys. It's a special wall. Thank you, Reed. I'm looking forward to seeing you guys here in India also. I'm hoping to work some more details out. And let's see here, Brajavani Taskan. Leela Purushottam Prabhu, do you want to share something with us?
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Yeah, well, this last thing you mentioned to Brajavani, that was a mind blow. Movement carries a motherly energy. And I immediately connected it with, like, we are supposed to be nourished by the movement, by the Sankertang movement. And then in that way, it's quite clear that it has a motherly or feminine energy. That was really wonderful. And I had, since I joined the class today, I had few minutes, was delayed, but that time you spoke about, you were explaining this Hridaya Kandare Spuratu Vashacinandana. Then you were more focused on Mother Sachi, but I'm always wondering, for years actually, I have the 3 terms, Sanskrit terms, that I have a difficulty to have a clue for them in and their relationship actually. So I will just tell them to you, and maybe I would hope that you can speak something about it. One is dhyan as a meditation, smaran as the remembrance, and spurti. So what's common to those terms, and what differs them, and
Dhyan, smarana, did you say?
yeah, smarana and spurti.
Well, in general, dhyan means to meditate, and smarana means to remember something or to contemplate on something. We read something, we meditate, we remember that thing. Dhyan, we're just focusing on it. And spurti means when it actually manifests before us in a form. And we may think, just like the cowherd boys sometimes, or the gopis, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says Krishna's coming before them, but the gopis think it's just a spurti, it's not real. Mother Sachi, she thinks that when Nimai is coming and eating everything, that it's just a spurti, it's not real. It's a little difficult in that level of consciousness for the sadhak or the siddha to understand the difference between in the reality whether that's actually happening or not. That's a simple explanation. There's a lot more we could go deep into it, I think, but is that helpful?
Yeah, well, I would need that deep discussion. Maybe not time for that now. Anyway, and one more thing was what I was thinking in connection with the elaboration on Mother Sachi's position. When I remember that pastime when Gauranga was distributing Prem and he refused to give it to Mother Sachi. And there was the whole, like the narrative of the story is that she committed a offense against Advaita Acharya and but my question in that connection is, what more or what else she could get than she already had? Like I can understand that for me the story carries the message to be very careful about even subtly offending any devotee, any Vaishnava. That's quite clear. But in that sense, like, what else did she get after she get the opportunity to touch the feet of Advaita Acharya and the offense was cleared in that sense? So what else did she get?
What a great question. I haven't even thought of that question before. Thank you very much. Well, first of all, obviously what you're pointing out is correct. That Sachimata, she had everything. What more could she get? What more could she hope for? So then what, in the context of that pastime, what was it that she wasn't getting? Mahaprabhu was giving his full Ashirbad in the form of his approval, in the form of his affection, and public affection, display of affection at least, and on devotees. And as they got that acknowledgement and affection from the Lord, they were manifesting ecstatic symptoms. And in that sense, you could perhaps address it. You could perhaps say that this is kind of like an institution. Mahaprabhu had his group. As soon as you have more than two people together and there's a formal title, you say this is a marriage. That's an institution. So we can say we don't like institutions, but unless you're just by yourself in a cave, you're going to have to deal with them. If you get married, if you have children, if you work in a job or anything. And Mahaprabhu, he had people around him, and there was a sangha. And in that sangha, at that time, there was a public kind of acknowledgement who's getting Mahaprabhu's mercy. And that's a kind of institution in a way. And Sachimata, so I would suggest that that's external, that's aparavichar, or an apparent consideration, that in actuality, in tattva vichar, because our acharyas, I wrote some article about that, I don't know if you remember ever reading that, in our magazine about Vaishnava Aparad, I wrote about Sachimata's offense, and our acharyas are very clear about that there was no offense. Yeah. It was just aparavichar, it was just an apparent consideration. Because for Sachimata, there's no question of making an offense. So then what is it, going back to your question, what is it that she didn't get? Well, she did get everything, but there's one thing apparently she didn't get, which is some public acknowledgement of appreciation from Mahaprabhu. How to understand that? All that comes to my mind, and someone else here can maybe correct me, all that comes to my mind is that in that assembly of devotees, I use the word institution, that sounds a bit cheap, but within that group, there was a public acknowledgement of everybody, and she didn't get that. And so what I walk away with from that is that even in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's very non-institutional sangha, there was some acknowledgement of some kind of like institution thing like that. Does that make sense to you? Does that appeal to you? You have any further thoughts?
I'm so happy. It's like, if I would translate it, how do I understand it? That Mahaprabhu, because we can see it in the other Leelas also, that Mahaprabhu wanted to give her the recognition from the other participants of the community. I would use the word community if we want to avoid institution. So he was creating a community, the Sankertang Movement, and that was a point of time where he did recognize the devotees officially, like, okay, but by the whole pastime of Mahaprakash Lila, and he gave Sachimata, he gave the others like clear how to say, like impetus to recognize Sachimata, even in the connection how much you stressed his relationship to Sachimata today to us with so many quotes. So like in that sense, he gave that to his followers, like this is the position of Sachimata and it will always be so. And is that correct? Do I get it?
Yeah, I'm drifting off a little bit here. Yeah, so we're appreciating Sachimata like that. He's showing it to us. Another point that came to me also when you were speaking just now is that according to our acharyas, there was no offense on behalf of Sachimata, as we mentioned. But what's going on is that Mahaprabhu was showing us that even Sachimata, what to speak of everybody else, it's inconceivable that Sachimata could commit an offense. It's inconceivable, it's not possible. But even Sachimata, if she did, then she's going to get a bad reaction. And so as you're pointing out, indirectly by doing that, he's actually glorifying his mother too. Yeah. That this is the topmost devotee I have, and showing his love and reciprocation for. He's a mamachar. I love it. Okay, I want to read a little something from Urugai Prabhu. I don't think he's online now. We've lost a lot of devotees. We've gone so long. I'll be quick. Jai Gaur, you can come next. And Bana, she's there. Urugai Prabhu has lots of Shalagram Shilas, by the way. He says, it's interesting that Sachimata worships Shalagram. I also heard Nanda Baba worship Shalagram. He likes Shalagram. So that's cool. And he's not here. I think he was on the train as he was listening. They're in transit right now. And tomorrow, if anybody's interested, and we're going to go to Jaipur in just a moment, at 5:50 in the evening, while I'm speaking about Urugai, we're going to have a kata for this group of devotees out of North Carolina, Shamagori Mataji, 5:50, just starting 10 minutes before this session today started. But that's going to be at Urugai Prabhu's house. He's really kind.
Will you post the link?
Sorry?
Will
Yeah,
you post?
I'll post a link, and that kata will be about Sadhu Sangha, just by the way, and how to get Sadhu Sangha, the glories of Sadhu Sangha. And it's more for a public group, so don't expect some of the kind of things we're speaking here. Okay, Jai Gaur, would you like to share something with us?
Sure, Brew. I was thinking, I don't know, maybe this is an off comment or something, but I was just thinking about when you were speaking that I was kind of taken aback that you were quoting that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said wherever holy names are being chanted, Mother Sachi is also there. And I was just kind of thinking about it in terms of Krishna Lila, like, I'm not generally, when I'm chanting Hare Krishna, I'm trying to think about Radha and Krishna. And if bringing Mother Yashoda into the mix, it kind of disturbs the rasa. So, what's different here with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, or maybe you can comment on that.
Sure. Thank you for saying it. I was waiting for someone to point that out. Something like that. So when we chant Hare Krishna, even if we're thinking of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we should be thinking of Radha Krishna. When we say that by meditating on the effulgence of Mahaprabhu, one becomes purified and you get prema, what does that mean? That doesn't mean you're meditating on Brahman, the Brahman effulgence, but it means you're meditating on Shrimati Radharani, Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari. So then, okay, as you're pointing out, we don't read about Radha and Krishna coming together and there's Sachi Mata serving the drinks and bringing some snacks or something for them. It doesn't work like that. Rather, Radha and Krishna become very shy in front of Mother Yashoda. I said Sachi Mata. But they become very shy in front of her. But still, Mother Yashoda is there in the sense that she's kind of a foundation for that. Because Srimati Radharani, she loves Mother Yashoda so much because she thinks of Krishna as a mamachari, as the son of his dear mother. And Mother Yashoda naturally appreciates Srimati Radharani so much. But as you're pointing out, it's not that we think of them together. And I don't mean to suggest that when we're chanting the Hare Krishna mantra that we should think that Hare means Radha, but Radha with Mother Yashoda. No, I've never seen a commentary like that. But we can think that we can offer so much appreciation to Sachimata. And how is Sachimata connected with Radharani, with Radha Krishna? She's connected in this sense. That she's giving birth to the deity, she's giving birth to the tongue of everybody so they can chant. So that's such an awesome thing. So she's there in that sense, that she's kind of in the background foundation that we don't see, just in the same way that if a girl loves her husband, loves her boyfriend, she also appreciates the boy's mother. Generally, sometimes some mothers are a little difficult, but usually she appreciates the mother because you're the mother of my beloved son and my beloved husband, and I see his qualities in you. Is that okay?
Yeah, Brew, that's nice. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is Bana there?
She is right here. She wrote a novel today.
No.
Krishna Kun, come here, quick. Krishna Kun, Bana Biharni Darshan is very rare.
Wow.
So you should have it.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
You have any reflections, Bana?
Yes. I was thinking that I often feel embarrassed that I don't know Krishna, I don't know Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and I'm trying to chant, but I feel like I feel a little, embarrassed that I don't know them. And it's reassuring to hear again that, Krishna is revealed through his holy name. And then I was also appreciating how sweet it is that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has revealed this intimate thing about himself, that how he likes to be addressed. And it's very sweet, and even a great offender can become dear to him if they address him like that. It's very amazing, sweet. It just reminded me of being in Jagannath Puri with you, and you sing to Jagannath sometimes, Yashoda Nandana Jai Jagannath. I was just appreciating that in a new way, that Jagannath must really like that. It's very sweet.
Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, and in Kirtan, when we sing Jai Sachinandan, you remember this, so we're speaking about today. Next time in Kirtan, you're singing Jai Sachinandan. It's such a wonderful thing. Mahaprabhu must be so happy. Yes, they're glorifying my mother. They appreciate my mother. Okay. All right. So I want to thank all you guys very much. What's happening next week? Actually, I think next week we'll be here. Let me look. Yeah, we should be. Should be. Because things are going to go a little bit crazy after that. We're going to Puri for a few days, or going to Kolkata for a few days, and then going on to Puri. Okay, so nice to see everybody. Thank you all for such a wonderful online Sangha. I really, really appreciate it very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Samveda Bhaktivinoda ki jai.
Jai. Thank you.
Kripa Sindhu Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Anandakoti Vaishnava